Hello.
Oh, is that you,
Yeah,
Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, you're in. I was just gonna message you. Okay, cool. Should we start with your stuff, Nick?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
trying to sort the camera out.
Yeah.
we can give her a couple of minutes if you want.
No, you can go ahead. It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. John, did you want to share your screen?
Yeah, give me 1 minute and I will. You can then tell me when I'm driving wrong, by all means. Okay, so if I share screen. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, shotgun. Okay, which way are we going to start with this end? Should we go straight on with the rhino and go? Nick, which way would be best way to look at this? Do you want to go straight in for the zebra sculpt?
Well, I'm aware that you probably only really need a video, so maybe just go with the video, and that's it, really.
That's fine, no worries. I was having a look at this before.
Yeah, just a supplement, just sort of showing that I've got that I was developing it from an initial point with the mood boards and stuff like that. Thinking about reference imagery and things. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I was looking at that, and reference is key for everything, not just on the anatomy side of things, but the overall general looks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think overall it's a really good start. I would be tempted to look. Let's go back before we look at a lot of the anatomy. I would look at the way I do it is I break things into three main forms. So there's the overall shape, then the medium shape, which will be your main overall muscles, the anatomy and general stuff like that. Then you go for your finer details and so on.
When you say shape, you like form, like the overall form.
Yeah, like for example, he's got really big feet, little hands. He's really muscular up to the point where his bicep starts and then his arms go really small.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a lot of mass being held around here. And therefore the legs are a lot stronger than the arms would be. And generally the way I would do it is if the legs were stronger, then they're generally more of a faster sort of creature because all the power's in the legs. Maybe less so with that. So that's the way I would do with a lot of this. So for example, like the head, I'm trying to find a good shot for it. This is quite good. Where the nostrils are, they actually flare out. It looks almost as wide, if not a little wider than, the eyes. Whereas I find with rhino, you'll get that very tapered head, straight from the eyes down to the front. It's a sort of triangle sort of look.
Right.
These are all more the shapes that I'd be looking at following and getting the general volumes and shapes that I would be going for before getting really, really bogged down with the anatomy of it all. So the idea being, if you can recognize what it's going to be when it's an inch tall rather than full screen, and if it works at just a silhouette size like that, so you can see that it's a big, strong, muscular, fast sort of character, whichever you want. If the silhouette's right, you should be able to roughly tell what sort of character it is from them small sizes. So I'd be looking at like this, like the gap between the legs is quite wide, but which is fine when you're four-legged and you basically have a limb in every corner is probably the best way to put it. But when you're more upright, you've got to balance that weight through the center down the spine. So the gap between the legs, possible. Again, it's your design and it's kind of going from that. But the gap between the legs seems quite wide. So all the weight's kind of running between the knees and the shoulders rather than going into the load weight of the hip.
Okay.
So I would go that. Also, I noticed he's got 10 abs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Which is fine, again. But a lot of animal anatomy I find is very, very similar, actually, to human anatomy.
Yeah.
But again, with it being a personal piece, it can be how you want it to be. But I would definitely.
I was probably copying a little bit from one of the pieces that I had on the mood board, which was like a gorilla's form, because it's kind of like a hybrid. I guess, I mean, in any sense of the word, it's kind of like a hybrid between a gorilla, a human, and a rhino. But obviously, a rhino's never stood up straight, so it's kind of married the three of them together, which is, I guess, a struggle with a little bit.
Yeah, it's a lot to take on, and already it's like with the sculpt, it looks like you're fairly high with your sculpt as you're still kind of blocking in a lot of the forms. Especially with ZBrush, I would generally stay low as early as possible to get the big forms. It's really, everybody does it. I too have been a massive victim of this. As soon as I get in ZBrush, I get something basic, I'm hammering up them subdivisions, and then instead of juggling 10 polygons, you're suddenly juggling 1,000,000 polygons, and it takes a lot more to smush and move it round. By all means, go up your steps, but when I sculpt, I'm up and down the steps all the time. So I do my big moves maybe on the level 1, 2, and then more of the refinement and fixing on the higher levels until I'm happy with it. And then I'm sticking roughly around the higher ones when it comes to my sculpt.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you've gone maybe a little high, and you're finding it a little harder to juggle all the topology and the polygons that are going on, that you end up layering over yourself and stuff like that.
I think probably one of the main problems that I've probably got is I understand the rig topology section where you then project it onto the better topology, and then you've got the lower subdivision against the higher subdivision. It's just that once you get to that, and with Dynamesh, you know, like if you can really play around with it,
absolutely,
and then you can re-Dynamesh and it's okay. But as soon as you do the reprojection element there, and then you reproject it, I guess that's probably an area that I need to be a bit more familiar with, in terms of if you do anything too drastic, or you start messing around with too much of the topology, then it just kind of messes it up too much. Even at a lower subdivision, I've found.
I think for me, I like to keep it quite low topology. So I'll Dynamesh something, get it to a shape, remesh it, and then project it. But this is all way before I get any of them finer details. It's still while I'm finding shapes. I find it's easier if I'm pulling the waist in, or if I was to bring in the legs, maybe make them less bowed, thinner tail, or stuff like that. It's a lot easier when it's a large move brush with a small area, symmetry on, and I'm just tugging in the sides on both sides, and it's only like a couple of 100 polygons, really low, nice and clean. Once I feel I've got them shapes, that's when I can really start blocking these in. But I'll jump between that and Dynamesh quite a lot. It's all before I put in a lot of details. There will be some bulk forms, you know, that I will bring in, but the finer refinements come later on. And if, you know, when it comes to the final topology, zero mesh and all that's great, but you'll, you know, depending if you're going to animate it, pose it, even for collectibles, depending if you have to sculpt it in a T pose and then put it in a dynamic pose.
Yeah, no, sorry to interrupt. I totally get the retop side. Totally, yeah. I mean, I understand the requirement for that in terms of animation purposes and all the rest of it. It's just that transition between understanding how to perform with the software as an artist, between those two parts. I always find Dynamesh more usable at that point. But that's what I'm learning about in a minute. To be honest, it's what I'm you know, understanding how to use that side of it.
Absolutely. To be honest, Dynamesh is great when you're starting from like a sphere or a cube and you're just hammering out your base forms and so forth like that. I would start this guy with a sphere or a cube or, you know, something really basic, and then Dynamesh it. maybe split it into parts and bring them together, depending what they are. But it is, once I get it roughly where it is, and it's usually quite low, because there's quite a lot of detail in here with these. You're already bringing in the serratus and so forth around here.
That's it, 2048, that I think the resolution's at 2048.
Okay, but the way Dynamesh works, it depends on how big your model is in world space. So it's I'm not completely technical on that side of it, but it's like 2048 to square meter of whatever it is in world space. I'm not exactly sure. So if you got something tiny, and it'll stick in loads of little polygons, whichever way.
Is it you know, the XYZ the XYZ size, the global size for the that's at 2.0, just over 2.0. I don't know if that's.
I generally don't worry too much of the numbers. I'm more finding as long as I can throw in them shapes.
Yeah.
The reason I say though for the Z-Remesh topology ones is it just makes it goes from it gives you them subdivisions back, and because it's a really quick, clean way to do it, you might find it easier to put. You know, the way I work isn't the only way to do it. It's just this is the way I find for me. It's hard to throw around a million polygons, whereas keeping it nice and simple.
Yeah.
You'll find you'll be able to experiment a little more and look at how, you know, what works as an overall, and then you can start looking at the overall anatomy. You know, so once you've got it in, how can I draw on this? Annotate. So, you know, once you've decided maybe he's a little bigger round here, brings in, then gives that thinner waist to get more of a, you know, like Rocksteady or Bebop or that from Turtles, to get that larger upright muscle, just to bring in a bit more waist or feel like there's more power there. But then there's stuff like you've got your, I've got to think of the names now. You trapezius, the muscle that's going over here, that comes down over this part. And I'm terrible at the names, but the infraspinatus, I think it is, where you teres major and minor, they tuck underneath that, and that's what gives the lump there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you got the wrap round of your lats, I think they are. I'm not very good on the names. I just kind of know roughly where the lumps bit are and try and hammer it to make it look where it is. But these are all, this anatomy is all what I would do later when I feel I've got the forms.
I'm not too familiar with, I mean, if I'm being quite honest, I'm not too familiar with, I should be familiar with the names, but I'm not too familiar with the names.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. As long as when it comes to sculpting, you have a good idea of the forms and volumes. I'm dyslexic. Most of this stuff is gibberish compared to what I can do. You know, there's loads of reference out there. Don't be worried because people are throwing around all the big names. I barely know them. You know, and I'm supposedly meant to be doing this for a living. You know, as long as it looks right, it doesn't have to be spelt right. I wouldn't stress over it. I mean, if you can, brilliant.
But I guess the way you, sorry, I'll just turn my video on.
How do you just I mean I know actually, how do you get your video up so you can see each other or I can see myself?
Oh yeah, just you should be able to in the bottom left corner go show video or stop video, start video.
Oh, that, sorry, yeah.
Bottom left.
Yeah.
I was going to say, John, but I guess what you're saying is focus on the shape first, and then add your anatomy second, and in that sense, you're just focusing on the big, broad muscles, right? You're not focusing on every muscle. Like you said, you've got your trapezius, your lats, your sartorius muscle. I noticed you sketched in, and stuff like that.
Jay's way better at this. The names that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I know. I literally know nothing else. Just the odd.
I know a few others because they're kind of my favorite, which is kind of strange. But yeah. It's what it is. My favorite muscle in the body is the brachialis, which is that lumpy one that sits there. Lumpy one is about as far as it goes.
But I guess you're totally right, though, in terms of if you haven't got the shape right, then everything you add on top is just going to look out of place.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
things work because they're grounded in nature, and there's a reason nature does it that way.
Yeah, that the start video, when I click it, it says cannot start video. Fail to start the video camera, please. Select another video camera in settings. But I've only got the one video camera. It's okay. I just it's one of those things, isn't it?
How do I get rid of my annotations on this?
You have to find the zoom panel thing and then go clear annotations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know where that is.
If I can add something.
Yeah, please.
They always told us on dailies that when we design the character, he has to be able to grab his hands like this. And I think the rhino has short forearms, and he won't be able to do that.
His arms too short.
Yeah, he won't be able to grab something.
Yeah.
That's what strikes me.
My big thing is...
I did actually, I was considering whether his arms were a bit short, even though he's quite bulky and stuff, but yeah, it did seem, yeah, okay. So arms are too short.
Basically always be sure that he's able to hold something with both hands.
Okay.
I think most of what you've got there is actually quite solid. I just think your overall volumes and silhouette could help sell it much, much stronger before you even go to the details.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to go.
So knock it down a peg or two, maybe down to about 512 or something like that, and then build up from there again. Yeah?
I would say, when you're sculpting it, get used to looking at that big for the whole thing. And if the silhouette of that looks like the sort of thing you're after, like if you can look at the character like that and go, he's a strong, muscular character, and you could see he's got a lot of upper body strength, or maybe slim and slender, maybe he's a runner, or if you can tell what the character is.
I know he's not going to be that type because he's a rhino, so he's going to be solid as a rock. He's going to be short. He's going to be short and stocky, if anything. That's the way I see him anyway. So.
Yeah, no, I agree, but it's bringing the whole volume so you can read that he's got a lot of upper body strength. At the moment, he's got the big belly.
Yeah.
And the deltoids. Is it the deltoids, your shoulders? Oh, it sounds strange. Anyway.
Shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah. I always find it weird that. But yeah, it's like, say, strong up here, and then it just runs out down by the arms. And I think it would be beneficial to have the legs brought in more.
Yeah.
Because then you'll feel like
John Wayne.
Cool. Should we have a look at another one?
You've got your reference right, Nick. Should we have a quick look at that, John?
Yeah. I don't know how to get rid of these annotations.
It's not
hang on.
Otherwise, we're going to end up with loads of drawings on these. While we work that out, we'll have a look. I've seen this gorilla.
Have you got Shotgun Create open, John? Because if you launch it in there, we can just draw straight on that. And then
put it on the desktop. I could close this window.
Yeah, just maybe, if that's all right. Maybe
I'm going to minimize it just in case you guys disappear.
Yeah.
Shotgun Create.
And we can just add the notes through that.
Okay.
And if you stop, if you go, can you see your Zoom? Sort of, I can't see it, unfortunately.
Okay, let me just stop sharing screen a minute while I
So I've had a bit of research after this about the video element. Is what we're using is now Zoom. This is Zoom we're using now at the minute, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the screen sort of sharing and stuff.
Yeah.
But we might look at other things depending how it goes. We've got Shotgun Create. I mean, everyone should be able to download Shotgun Create via Shotgun with this account, which is, if I just share my, is that all right, John, for a second? I'll just quickly.
Yeah, you share your screen, buddy.
Shotgun Create would allow you to, we can basically do drawovers and stuff like that in here. So I can grab a pen, blah, 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 and then post it. So review, stick that in, send that. And then you should get the note in here. So that's the plan, is that you can come back to these notes later on, just in Shotgun directly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to stop my share. Just give it back to you, John.
I'm struggling to log in through Shotgun Create.
Okay, we can just do it back in Shotgun if you want. But you should be able to annotate. Yeah, I mean, you can annotate in Shotgun.
The annotate's gone, maybe when you shared screen or whatnot. Okay, shall I carry on?
Yeah, if you do a share screen again.
Okay. Share screen. Okay. Yeah, see with the gorilla here, he's got quite wide, but it does go to a center point and his crotch is nowhere near as wide, because from the knees to the hips, the weight is being distributed in a triangular motion inwards.
I get that. I understand that.
Okay. And the way his shoulders come out, and it is just kind of a arc of muscle coming down as well. So there's main volume, and then it's a very gradual taper down from the arm. So this is strong. This is maybe slightly less strong than the forearm until the wrist, where it then goes large again. Same with the bulldog. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I understand. Like the way you carry the weight. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I didn't notice it until you mentioned it. Now, I understand.
You know what? Half the time, just a fresh pair of eyes on what you're working on makes all the difference. You can easily get lost in translation by focusing on this, then focusing on this.
Yeah.
Another thing I like to do is I'll just make it a silhouette and turn it upside down and look at it upside down, just to trick my brain into thinking it's a new asset and have a look around that. It's just small things to try and make it look a little different. Your reference is spot on. It's exactly what you need.
Yeah.
But I think you're just getting into the nitty gritty of the anatomy really early on compared to the overall volumes. It's like the ears are really thin, just skin, and it's barely cartilage, just holding it round, just at the base. Like I was saying about the nose, the eyes, and so forth, it's quite tapered forward, especially if you're going to be upright. You probably would want to have a little more forward-facing vision.
Yeah.
It's definitely going down the right road, though.
Well, that's good. I mean, I've been building up my understanding of anatomy for probably the past year here and there, I guess. Yeah, it's good that it's going in the right direction, definitely.
And you will keep continuing to build that folder of anatomy, and it just keeps going. And then you think, I think I've got this, and then you realize you don't. There's always more to learn. Absolutely.
Cool.
Another.
Yeah, I think the thing with anatomy though, Nick, is just don't get overwhelmed by it. I think you for what you're doing, modeling, sculpting, it is just the surface forms we're interested in. I know you can go down a rabbit hole of thinking you need every muscle, every insertion, origin, etc. But think of the big broad shapes, you know, deltoids, pecs, trapezius, latissimus dorsi, quadriceps, hamstrings, biceps, triceps.
That's
forearm muscles.
yeah, that's need to spend more time on that. Certainly.
Yeah, but that I would say that's enough to get you going. You know, I wouldn't worry about every muscle in between and all of that stuff. Just focus on those big broad shapes, because that's what gives it the shape. Once you have that, then your character should, like John says, it should have that structure to really make it look like it can hold its weight and feel a bit more believable, essentially, and a bit more like you want him to be stocky. So, but it's getting there. Like he says, it's just a nip and a tuck here and there.
And I think if you do Z-remesh it and rewrap it, give yourself a couple of levels of some division, it'll make it a million times easier to pull them shapes around and get them where you think they really, really need to be.
Okay.
Just don't go too detailed, because then when you wrap it, you might be worried about losing detail. Just keep it big, solid forms. For me, I'm always using things like clay tubes, standard, smooth, and just hammering it in just to get them volumes.
Yes. Okay.
Cool.
Right. Okay. Thanks very much for your time, both of you.
Anytime, no problem, buddy. It's a long road. You're definitely doing really well down the road, and it just keeps going, buddy. It's not a race. It's to enjoy the journey, definitely.
But Nick, do send an update. You know.
Yeah,
again,
I'd love to.
The thing we're doing here is, the idea is that you might submit Monday, get some notes, come back Friday, you know, submit another version, and then we can see the progress of it, rather than going off on a tangent for months and months. Hopefully we can kind of help steer some of that work, and you know, we're basically trying to be the fresh eyes, essentially, rather than working on something for 3 or 4 months and then getting a pair of eyes. Hopefully we can just quickly have a look at it and go, yep, looking great, or maybe offer some advice and so on.
Yeah. Yep. And in the meantime, with the what we're using at the minute is Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I do a bit of research into Zoom in terms of, I'm sorry about, I don't understand why I can't get that video started. I click what you said.
Yeah, I mean, you can download the, what's it called, the desktop version, which is what I'm using, and then just it's got a, you know, check your video thing on there. So have a play with that. Cool. Okay. Should we move on to the next one?
Do I leave now? Can I stay and listen to other people? Or?
Yeah, no, go for it. I mean, the idea with this is that everyone kind of gets a bit of everything from everyone, and also everyone can, you know, jump in if you've got any comments or questions. The idea is to create like a sharing knowledge pool sort of thing on Shotgun, so you can put comments in, you can look at other people's work and so on.
Yeah.
So by all means, do.
Thanks very much, Jonathan, and thanks very much.
Anytime, buddy.
No worries. Cool. Okay.
Who shall we go to next then?
Well, if you want me to share my screen, John, or?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay, and then
you can definitely drive it better than me.
We'll find out now. Let me check. It's this one. Okay. This should. Here it is. Sorry, I've got it on this screen here. Okay, so next is. So this is from. Let me bring up this chat. Make sure I can see everyone. So KM, I don't know if he's here. Oh, sorry, this is Abinitham. He was here. He's done.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's cool. Oh yeah, there you are. Sorry, I can see. Cool. So this is your piece, which let me just hit play. So this was a lighting study, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I had a quick look at it offline, and I thought it was looking great from what I saw. The thing I like to do is look at images and then go, oh, that's a nice picture, without thinking it's CG. And you fooled me, so I thought it was.
Yeah, I really like the backscatter lighting on the fuzz around it. That sounds to me.
Yeah, let me grab a pen. Yeah, all of this stuff I thought worked really well. You've got that hot light coming in, and even here you've got some of that coming through, which you're trying to mimic. Can you see my screen? Sorry, I'm scribbling.
No, I can see it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, all of this stuff that you're matching here, I think is looking great. In general, I mean, I don't have that many notes. The only thing I guess I have, which is a tiny note, is there could possibly be a bit more fill light happening there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just a bit of more bounce from the front.
Just a bit that I'm kind of seeing here. On this character.
I feel like I want to tuck the character just a little bit more into the light. So, because the light on the one on the left is just in front, you can see the highlight.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. And I'm not so sure about the sharpness of the shadow in front of the character.
On the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, because.
Yeah, sorry, John, you carry
on. Because the original picture has a really sharp shadow because of the strong light, and your render is slightly softer. I don't know if it's based on the camera angle, but it just drags the eye a bit.
I feel you get away with it because yours isn't as in the sunlight as the unicorn. Is that a unicorn?
I think so, yeah. It's just prop of my sister, so I just bought it. I was like, okay, give it to me.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you tried just sticking an object here just to check your lighting, just to see how strong the shadow that it casts is on that area?
No, I haven't, but I can actually try it next time I do it.
Yeah, I think all you want to do is just see if you're getting strong shadows. I agree with Jan. It's quite hard to tell what you got going on there because it does feel slightly softer here, but you're blending in more with the ground plane.
Exactly, because when I was trying the object with a different scale, I was trying, when I pushed it back, because the object has this kind of a solid look, it looked a bit, I'm not sure how I can say this, but basically because of the camera deformation, the shape did not match the object. It looked a bit flatter. So I pushed it a bit forward and changed the angle. And maybe because of that, the shadow, because unicorn is basically in the real world, it's not like a rounded cylinder. It's basically more flatter. So that's why it's easy to put it there. But this knitted monster asset is basically like a round cylinder. It's heavy. So it's right there. So maybe that's why the shadow is causing a bit softer look. But I can definitely try to push it back and check.
It could be.
Just quickly though, what's the intention with this image? Is it to present it alongside the pink horse, or is it just a standalone image on its own that you're going to present?
Okay, so first of all, this I was not actually intending to present it anywhere. This was just as a study which I was thinking of doing. This happened during lockdown because I was like, okay, I'm in my room. Let's see if I can actually place assets and stuff, because I've always been working on stylized things, stylized animation and those lighting conditions. So I was like, okay, let's see if I can do something VFX oriented. So that was the only intention. Okay. The reason I kept it to side by side is so that I can, directly myself, I could see if these two are matching each other and if the lighting is the same or not. Because when I was trying it without the reference to the side, I was like, oh yeah, this looks fine. Then I put the reference in there and I was like, oh, I missed the light to the left or something like that. So
but I think the thing is, but I mean, I think the thing is people can get carried away when you're presenting your work to always, I would basically say, you don't need to show that image. You just need to present that image and try to fool people to see if they think it's a real picture of a real toy. Because if you had showed that to me on its own, I would have said that looks like a funky looking toy. And, I wouldn't have judged it as CG.
No way.
And I think it sells it really, really well.
Yeah. And then you can present with the gray shaded version and so on that it's CG. But again, I would say there's probably 5%, 10% more tweaks you could make, but overall, it looks great from what I'm seeing. It's a really polished.
Yeah, without a comparison image, you have no chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The only thing I can see is for some reason it feels like the carpet here is blowing up, but now I'm just being a bit nitpicky.
Yeah, because that was because when I took the photograph and I took the backlit, the lighting actually changed. The clouds went away, and I was like, okay, now I'm in trouble. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Because it was in the span of like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
both photographs were taken. So by the time I moved the asset, and I was like, okay, now let's take the reference photograph.
Yeah.
And initially, the problem was of focus, because when you don't have any object there, and I forgot to dial in the manual focus there.
Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't get the backlit in time, so I was like, all right.
What's the so how has this been lit? You're using a HDRI, or you're using a directional light that's coming in?
Okay, so for the first phase of fill light, I'm using an HDRI because I wanted the specular on the nose. So if you actually zoom in, I rendered it out at 2K, I guess. So if you zoom into the nose, you can actually see the room environment. So that's what I wanted to get in there.
Okay.
Other than that, there are 3 area lights. One to the back, which is basically giving the most shadow and the rim to the back of it. Then there are 2 which are giving the subsurface effect to the sides individually. So that's how I lit the whole thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I guess in a sense, because this is important, because when people capture HDRIs, they think we can just use that and it should look the same, but you are adding additional lights to then get the additional
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So again, that's very important, because obviously we see people with lighting and they think, why doesn't it look right? I've matched reality by capturing the HDRI, but even a HDRI itself doesn't match how real light, works essentially, because nothing other than the sun maybe is going to be mapped onto a weird 3D dome. So cool.
Yeah,
so you've reverse engineered this image basically, and worked out where the light's meant to come from, the back and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I tried my best. There's actually one more image which I did the best practice run with. So if you want, I can share my screen and show you that.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. Share screen.
One little comment on the little guy, the little toy.
Yeah.
I did a series of these, and I found a great way to sell and make it look like, like the pink unicorn has the tag on it. Either having the little cardboard tag with the little class push, or I had a fabric loop. You sometimes get, so it says like wash at 30 degrees or something, either on the back or at the side, just so you can see. It's a good way to, again, anchor it into the sort of real world look.
Cool. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That minute detail would actually help sell the effect.
It's a nice way to change what materials you see as well.
Yeah, perfect. If you guys don't mind, I would like to share my screen.
Can you do it? Yeah, great.
Yeah, I think. Can you see this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the one which I did before that as a test, and this is basically my messed up bed. But so there's the knitted acid, and if I can show you the so this is the the CG plate, and this is the comp.
So for me, this one feels more CG.
Yeah.
And it could be. Have you got geometry-wise? Have you got the bed? Sorry, let me just sketch over this if I can. Have you got the bed modeled in?
No. I just have this one plane there, which is just contributing to the back shadow.
Yeah. So again, what I always find is if there's no 3D environment, and usually on a VFX project, when you're doing lighting, you'll get a LiDAR scan or a low-res proxy of the environment. Because what's happening is this is all bouncing light back onto it. You're going to pick up some of this pink, and it's going to bounce and hit the character. So there's no kind of pink or white shader or anything bouncing back up onto it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So and again, usually I always find it's around this area where the CG-ness comes out of things, because
I can see
light
it now.
Bouncing back. So what I would do is I would model in even the walls, even this very low res, match it up in sorry, I'm using my mouse, which is why this is horrible. But and then match that to your photography, and then obviously don't have that as the primary visibility in the render, but then allow that to add shadowing and bounce light onto your character, and then that might just sit it in a bit better. I mean, I'm not saying it's not close. It feels, pretty much like it's almost there. But I think just having that bounce light would help a bit more. It also feels like your character, and I don't think you'd want to change the shaders, but it could have something a bit hotter hitting it just slightly, because there's a bit of hot light hitting these pillows, although maybe that's the design of the pillow.
Yeah, maybe because I can basically try to get more bounce light in it. Yeah, that is true. Because I did not use much of that.
And I think that based on that, the brown blanket, your key light could be stronger because on that blanket you have like an obvious sense what's in the light and what's in the shadow.
Yeah.
And the difference between light and shadow on your character is not that contrasty as on the kind of the same material and similar shape. So I think that your key light could be stronger.
Yeah, it just feels a little washed out.
I see. Also to point out, just to put in just FYI, I did not change any shaders to it. So this is the asset which was received. So I did not do any of that. But I would now because of the fact that you pointed out with the matter, the blanket. Yeah, I think they have the similar shaders, so they should look pretty much close by. So I would do that, and I think that would help a lot more.
But I wouldn't. So the thing with look dev and lighting is what tends to happen, and it's kind of stopping as much as it should, or it's slowing down, is people used to fix things in lighting because they would say the shaders were wrong. And then you get into this horrible loop where someone fixed the shader and says the shader's wrong, and then someone says, no, the lighting's wrong. And then people are changing stuff all over the place. When you're doing your look dev, I would do it in a controlled lit environment. And in that environment, I would create like a gray ball, a chrome ball. And then that way, this is mid gray and this is chrome and this is maybe a white ball, etc. So you have your kind of objects that you can always reference into every shot, and it should feel like it's a gray ball or whatever else. I don't think you want to change your shaders in here. If you're happy with them, that is. If your shaders are wonky, then that would mean back to your other nicely lit image that you would want to apply those shaders to that as well. Because you want consistency on your asset as it goes into the shot pipeline.
Exactly, yeah. I understand that.
So I wouldn't tweak the shaders. I think the shaders are fine. Like Jan says, it just feels like it needs a bit more of a kick from a key light. It needs a bit more bounce light hitting it from the environment, and then it's probably on its way, I think.
Yep. I can do that and I can test that.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry.
When I've done stuff like that before, I tend to block out the environment via that camera, and then just project the image onto the actual thing because the camera is never going to move. You can literally just project that texture straight onto the environment, and that way you'll get the right colors bounce in the right area.
Just do a camera projection, and that should that's what I've done on a number of scenes, is just project that back onto the environment and then hit render.
Ooh, yeah, that's a very good point. I'll try that, and hopefully in future I can show it to you again.
Cool.
Great.
But again, I think your first image, even if you made the changes or not, I think it looks like a great image. I think that little touch of adding the tag would be a nice little touch to kind of sign it off. And your second image, a bit more kick with the key light, and then it feels like it's there.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
So let me share this again. This one is modeling reel. I think it's Andre. I don't know if Andre's here. Is Andre here? Should we just review it, John?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. Okay. He's got his comment. You can see my screen, John?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. My name is Andre. I'm a final year student at Bournemouth Uni. This is my hard surface modeling reel. Love to get some feedback. So I'm going to step through it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Frame by frame, only because I'm worried it's not going to play back on your machine. So let me just scrub through it quickly, and then we can maybe come back. So we've got Pinocchio's workshop. Are you there, Andre? No, he's not. Okay, so we've got Pinocchio's workshop, wireframe. I know this robot. I used to set this assignment myself. This is familiar. Actually, he's done a very good job.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Yeah, he's done a great job there. Some nice.
Looks like probably the best I've seen.
Yeah. Did you have to review this, Jan, as well?
Yeah.
I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah. I did.
Quite funny.
I think this is after I left.
Yeah. This was around 2 years ago. Vintage sewing machine. Okay, so again, we'll come back to this. So we've got 3 pieces, 1 prop, 1 kind of character, and 1 environment, if I count correctly. Cool. Yeah. Cool.
Generally, overall, really good, solid work. I think this one is a little busy. I'd probably have started with that robot just because I think it's a really solid piece. That one.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that comes on, you're like, wow, that's really good. It's nice and clean. I always like models in a nice flat shade as well. When you can see all that detail, little light at the back just to add a little something. I've not seen this model before, by the way. I've not seen the Dean Egg Masterclass.
Yeah, I had it concept designed by someone in Vancouver, a concept artist, and then we used it internally. And then we gave it out to the year 2 and 3 students. DOR, I wonder if anyone knows what that stands for. It's actually Door Operating Robot.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you can't open this.
Oh, right, yeah. And another thing is that you were right about starting with this one. Another note is that the first one actually has the work in progress title in there. It's not the great title to start your show reel. That's usually at the end.
Yeah.
If you have some work in progress, or I would just leave it out because nobody cares.
It would be okay if there was a lot more items deliberately looked at. Like you can see there's the sewing machine in there, maybe a close-up on the face, maybe the mask at the back, really. So I could understand that one. But as the props, it's only the sewing machine from this scene. This could go in at the end and they could be like, I'm putting together a full scene.
Yes.
It's a nice piece, really clean. The lighting's nice enough. You can see what's there. But as a model reel, it doesn't go well because everything in there are kind of like them nice, simple models that you first start with. You know, the set of drawers. It's nice that the drawers are all open a little and things are off here and there. You know, so it doesn't just look right angled to everything, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I was looking at that going, oh, that's quite nice. And then I saw the robot and I was like, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, I think
that wow from that thumbnail beginning at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with this one, what I'm seeing is, especially the more you look at it, and it does hold for a while, is a lot of these objects aren't catching the light because they don't feel beveled, essentially. So, like you say, it feels a bit, you know, not low poly, but it doesn't feel as polished. Where, you know, if we go to the robot from the offset, it just catches everything. Everything is catching the light. Here you can see everything just being shown off. Get some nice pings everywhere happening, and yeah, you can really see all that shape just coming.
Quite like the light at the back. It has what looks like in that light bit at the back.
Yeah.
I'd quite like the lens at the front to be like a red light or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to have that pop of color.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about this is we lose.
The framing.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I can see you'd probably want to show it off, but we're losing parts of the model.
Yeah.
So it might be worth just getting this in full frame and then doing some close-ups like you have. But
yeah, I'd also be tempted when it starts. A lot of people, the bit you want to see is the model at the front right there. I usually start my models
3/4.
Yeah, something like that. So it comes in, because you look at it, you go, oh, that's what you want. Then it comes in, and by the time your eye and your mind's grasp what you're looking at, bam, that's the bit you want to see. And then your eye can start wandering and enjoying the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I do an open, zoomed out version.
Yeah.
And then I do another few shots of the close-up details and then maybe the wireframe. Really soak in them nice details on it.
How are you with? I know this is a small little detail, but it's always something that gets me. Is when people animate a turntable, usually let's just say it's 0 to 100 frames.
Yeah.
They usually set a key here, and on the y-axis, I'm guessing, set another key at 100. So when it starts slow.
Yeah. That's my first note I'm giving to students. Just don't do that.
Yeah. Is what make sure this the tangent is linear.
Yeah, because you just can't loop it, and
the minute.
I think the reason a lot of them have that slow start is because they're starting at the focal point rather than starting just before it. Or,
I think Maya does this by default when you set
it does.
It will do this fall off. It will ease in and ease out, where you do want to then go in and set that curve to be a linear tangent.
If I was doing this, it'd be in key shot, and it asks you whether you want to do to that, and it's like,
oh, does it?
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah, because you can easily set in-outs in here and just keep it on a loop, and
which is what I would say would be nice. But you'll just it's just something to, if you're doing modeling reels or turntables, is just keep an eye on.
Ins and keep it linear.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, starting at a 3/4 or something like that, so you get that. I see it all the time with characters. As soon as you see it, by the time you get to grips, you're now only seeing an ear and then the back of the head.
Yeah, exactly.
And the main bit you see is the back of the head, and the face has got, and it cuts to something else, and you're like, start with the back of the head then.
Yeah.
And bring in the face, and topology-wise, it looks really clean.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a few things that I'd probably.
Yeah, they're the first thing that's spotted.
Yeah.
I don't know how do I zoom into this. Will be control. Anyway, I was just seeing some of these weird. It's quads. It is all quadded. It looks like, but it's just going to be feels like a bit of a weird set of polygons to have there. That could be cleaned up.
You'd have to sit and go through those to work out what is what. But saying that, with it being on a hard flat, I know it's a curve surface, but you can definitely, it can forgive a lot more than things like that.
Yeah.
But these close-ups and that, these are what I'd want to see. A lot of, like, just take the leg off and spin just the leg. There's loads of detail down there.
Yeah, this looks great. Nice and even, which is great.
Yeah, that looks great.
Nice. The way you've taken out some edges, finished them off, terminated them.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense to have the sewing machine after the robot, because obviously it doesn't have that wow factor when you hit it. And when it goes onto the topology bit, you can see the topology is maybe not as nice as the one on the robot.
Let's just jump in here. Yeah. What you mean, stuff like here, you'd want to even out, or?
Yeah, there's a bit. I think it goes a bit further on another one where there was some. Let's have a zoom in bit. Yeah, there was some of these.
Oops. Well, just these weird terminated. I'm guessing these are
because it's smooth there and then stepped. You can see under, if you go back a sec.
Yeah.
Under where the sewing machine parts are. On the right hand side, follow it up. You can see some of the lines aren't even a bit higher.
Oh yeah.
Things like that my eyes spotted the first time. But you can forgive all that because you've seen the robot beforehand.
Yeah.
So it's like, because it's at the later part of the reel, you can see, well, they've obviously learned from this, moved on. It's nice to see they can do the nice round organic forms, and now they've moved on, and now they've got the crisp topology. And
looks good there.
I think they could go from the main room. If they want to include the main room, I would definitely have go to town on that the Pinocchio puppet. Learn what you did from the door robot. Take off the chest panel, or maybe a high poly arm, or something, a few little bits and bobs because this is a really nice room filler, but you need a focus.
Yeah.
You know, he could have like a little soldering iron kit as he's putting this together, and then you're less noticing that some of the edges aren't beveled and catching the light because you have your focal.
But it wouldn't take that long to go in and just polish this off, I don't think. I mean, luckily,
I completely agree.
You know, it's got a lot of detail there. It reminds me of the NVIDIA demo recently with the marbles. Obviously, a lot of effort's gone into here. Like all of this stuff, he's gone to town and added all of this stuff. This maybe feels a bit blown out. It would be nice to maybe just get some shafts of light coming in, just to add a bit more drama.
Some of that, everybody does.
If you're doing that, I kind of like the contrast of warm and cool that he's got happening. There's, you know, a bit of a hint of a story there. Well, it is Pinocchio's workshop, but it almost feels like you've got a good, solid hard surface asset you can do. You can show your environment modeling skills and your prop modeling skills. So it is just, you know, tinkering, I would say.
Yeah.
If this is your first hard surface modeling reel, it's a great reel. I would be proud of it if this was my first modeling reel. So it's overall, I think it's coming along really well.
Yeah, amazing. I like say when I saw that and then saw the drone, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Big step.
Yes, yeah. But you want the big step first, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of times somebody might only look at a thumbnail and go, I don't have time to move on.
Yeah, very good point. Again, and I guess what can happen is people will skim through this stuff, right? You know, when you're looking at 50 reels a day, you're going to look at the first thing and go, that isn't actually that good. I'm going to quickly skip through, and they might see a few frames of this and then just see the end thing and go.
The other one is I've had it where I've passed on reels and it's gone, this bit's really good. Like I'd say, have you seen the one with the drone? Yeah. And they might know, no, I've not had a look, and click through, and it just starts, and it's like the Pinocchio. No, that's not that. Move on. Rather than it being the main prominent one, then, you know, if I passed it on to somebody, they're now looking for something and assuming the best bit's going to be at the front, so they might not let it go as far for the drone because they're trying to find through 30 CVs or something.
Yeah. But it's great. I mean, I think you said you were year 3, final year modeling student. So it's great that you're leaving uni with a solid reel like this.
Yep,
for hard surface modeling. Just be wary, because what we've got here, and it depends what industry you're going into, VFX or animation games, is make sure you kind of tailor your reel for those disciplines. Because with a VFX reel, you've got basically 3 fantasy-ish items, although this is obviously based on a real object, and this room can be a realistic room. What I would get in there is, if you're going for VFX, is maybe an asset where you have photographic reference that you're trying to match, just so you can show and demonstrate very strong observation skills, which you clearly have. You've got so much attention to detail to here, I'm seeing, but showing that against a photographic reference will just allow employers to see that you can model to specification, to reference, and so on. So
absolutely,
just something.
Doesn't have to always be a robot that you go wow to. I saw one recently. It was a old Canon camera, and just
that was amazing.
That's it. You go, have you seen that one? It's got like the little fingerprints on it, and it was just really blown away by it. One thing I would mention on the reel, it might be worth showing just the layout of UVs, just so you can see that this person can also UV.
Yeah, good point. In some departments, UVs will be done by the texturing team. Other times, modeling team. I would say if you're going for modeling, I would still want to learn UVs and have that under your belt. Good UV organization as well. So laying out UDIM tiles based on either shaders or based on where the character object parts are. All of that stuff. UV resolution, all of that stuff would be.
Well, you're going to have to put in some edges as well to hold them UVs when it comes to be subdivided for render time and stuff like that. which when I first went into VFX, because I came from a computer games background, I had no idea about that. And they're like, right, you're going to have to put some supporting edges in. I'm like, for UVs? But yeah, it makes perfect sense. I know now if I ever pass a model off, it's always got at least easy to see what they are UVs. And then if the texture artist wants to group them differently, it's usually a case of just grabbing the UV shells and moving them where they want.
Yeah.
It's also a great way to see if there's problems with the model. When you UV, sometimes you'll spot things and you go, oh, I can't believe I didn't see that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, this is Andre now. He's coming in. Maybe he can hear. Let me just promote him to panelist. You just... Hey, Andre.
Let's start again.
Andre, are you there? Oh, sorry. I'm going to make you a co-host as well. And Marta as well. Andre, can you hear us? Unmute. I think this Zoom is a bit slow, a bit sluggish. Let me message him. Andre, are you there? Chat. Yeah, yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Great. Okay. When did you jump in? Did you hear everything and sort of cry in the background? We said good things. Did you hear the feedback?
Just now. No, you didn't.
Oh, you didn't hear it? Okay. It looks like a lot of drawings, but they're nice drawings. They're just they're all kind words.
Lines here and there.
Yeah. It's mainly there's a few things. Unfortunately, it's all in yellow. But we were saying, we'll just do a quick summary. We were saying this model that you've done looks fantastic, essentially, and we'd recommend starting with that one because it is, out of all the pieces, it feels like it's the knockout piece. The only thing we mentioned is it comes out of frame, so it might be good to do the close-ups, but also get it rendering in frame.
And start it off at a 45 degree rather than straight on when you render it.
So maybe around here.
Yeah. Because your main focal point is the front, and by the time your eye realizes what you're looking at, that bit's already passed, and you're looking mostly at the side, whereas all the details at the front.
Yeah. If it's spinning
nearer the side, and then it comes round to face camera.
Yeah.
And then we were saying this piece, which is coming along really well, but I guess you've put it down here already. It is a work in progress, and therefore, when people look at it, they're just going to see whip work to begin with. That's the first thing they see. So although it's coming along really well, and it just needs a bit of beveling here and there to catch the light, it feels like, and maybe some rays maybe coming in to help with the story. Maybe this could go in the middle or towards the end, just so all your good stuff, your polished work, has that kind of wow factor to begin with.
Yeah. Because when we look at this, that's nice, but then you see the robot and you're like, wow, you should get that wow right at the beginning.
This robot here, DOR.
Yeah.
But overall, it's, again, I would say, and we'll move on now, but really nice work, really nice reel. First modeling reel feels really solid overall.
Just to say, Jay, you are recording that, and you're gonna be sharing the video later on.
Yeah. We'll upload this so you can see all the notes, because I think, it's a shame you came in towards the end. I think we spoke for around 5-10 minutes on it. Again, mostly nice words, so nothing to
worry about.
Just a few little things, if anything.
Yeah.
So if you want, I'll have that on my reel, if that's okay. No, it's really solid. I like it.
Cool. Have you got any questions though? Before we've only got one more to look at, an animation reel. But have you got any? Well, unless someone else has submitted, let me double check. I don't think they have. Have you got any questions for us, Andre? Oh, you can't. Oh, sorry, you haven't got your mic. Cool. He will look through the notes. Okay, great. Cool. Okay, cool. So the next one's an animation reel. Keep draft. I'll just send that. I don't know what that was. And Lung can't be with us. He's sleeping now. It's 4 a.m. where he is. but we'll forgive him for that. So this is anim reel. I'm just going to hit play. It might be a bit choppy in the video, but it's smooth for me.
Yeah.
So he's got an attack sequence.
I was looking at this before.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he's got some character work. He's got like a dog who loves his tail more than the ball. Some more character work. Cool. Okay. So
the first thing I notice on this is there is no annotations of whether he did the modeling or whether it's just his, did he do the lighting? You know, I don't know if he's modeled and textured or, you know, that sort of thing. I think that's quite.
Yeah, I would assume that he did just an animation if it's an animation reel.
Yeah.
What strikes me first that if I'm seeing animation reels, they always have a reference in them.
Yeah.
As in model provided by, rig provided by.
No. I'm like a video reference. That's what I'm missing there. Something to compare all that movement to.
Yeah, picture in picture sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. That's I think that if it's okay for modeling reel to not have it in there because we kind of have like the image in mind, but for the animation, I think it's essential to have, even if it's stylized, it's still necessary to have a reference.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point because Andre, with your one, you may want to put in the
images of the sewing machine.
Or just the sorry, it's back here somewhere, isn't it? Or just this robot, because like you say, concept provided by DNEG, it would be nice to see how close you got to that reference, because that's the aim is with your modeling or your animation usually, is how close did you get to the reference or build upon the reference and so on. You know, if you went in a different direction, why did you go in a different direction, etc., etc. It's another nice thing to add, like you said, Jan, for animation, throw it in for modeling as well.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying in chat. He wasn't sure if he can share that concept art. Yeah, that's always kind of a question, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, I know for this one, for the DNEG one, you can, because I came up with the concept idea. So yes, and it's been sent out to all the universities, etc.
Right.
Good point. Do always check if you're being provided assets from companies if you can.
Yeah, and if it's not a company or just a random artist, just drop him a message and ask.
Yeah. Just send them an email. Just say, hey.
One point I will think on the reel, if this went to the university and them to model it in the uni, absolutely great, really good work. But the one thing I would say, when I look at reels, I would like to look for personal work. For a couple of reasons. One, it shows what people want to do. I mean, if he could have been forced to model that for 2 months every day and hated every inch of it.
Yeah.
But also he's then going to leave with that on his reel, which looks amazing, but there might also be another 10 people with exactly that on their reel.
Yeah.
This is where I find a lot of personal work makes a big difference. If you just do the university work, you're very much in danger of having the same reel of a lot of people at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, totally agree. As in, put your personality, character, personal works in there.
It also shows you're really keen. You know, if you want to do this in your spare time, when you're not being made to do it, you're going to want to do it as a job as well.
Yeah.
And I understand there's obviously time preferences with everybody else, but it's about showing how keen and interested you are, as well as showing what you want to do. I mean, he might not want to make robots. He might want to make just real world items.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So animation wise, again, I'm just looking at this with fresh eyes now. The first thing I'm seeing, I'm probably stuttering with the video recording, is I'm looking at this little dude to begin with. I kind of like the way he comes in. He's basically like a bouncy ball.
That big stretch.
Oops. Yeah. Let me just go back. Should mark this. So here we go. So as he comes in, he's basically coming in like a bouncing ball. He comes in this arc. As he jumps, it would be maybe nice to keep that going, because if you watch him, he's more, and maybe that was intentional, he's more like an arrow. But you might have wanted to just keep that momentum going.
The tail doesn't seem to bounce that much considering the momentum is coming down.
Yeah, that was going to be the other thing. You could swing that round a lot more, essentially. Like it kind of hangs around here instead of following through a bit more. So as it comes through, it would be nice to maybe just keep that going and then stretching out. But if I'm looking at this in terms of story, so I guess that's the first thing I think about is, do I feel like there's a story coming through? As much as you're selling animation, I always think story is important. So I guess at the minute we've got a little dude coming in. He's going to attack this lady who's going to slice him on the chin. Actually, it's a nice little attack.
Yeah.
Overall, I think. He's obviously trying to get through here. Is he? I don't quite get this narrative, but let's just...
Got delicious apple tree and he would like some.
Yeah. She's bothering me a bit with her posture. It just feels like she's... Oops, sorry, I've done it again. She's leaning too much in that direction. Maybe that stick could have come out a bit more to kind of make her more stable and strong.
Or the right leg, just to step out more, just to hold the weight.
Yeah, just to... Something that just makes her a bit more firm. Because it feels like if he did come at her, he would probably take her out. Although she does lean onto that leg at that stage. I do like the squash and stretch you got going in him. I think that works really well, especially when you play it. Draft. This keeps coming up. Yeah, it feels nice and fluid as he's bouncing around. This move, did she contact him? This one, I wasn't too sure what was happening because it felt like his reaction was I'm being hit.
Yeah, rather than a step back.
Yeah, but I never felt the contact. So if we play that, yeah, it feels like he got hit, but he didn't. So maybe there could have been a different sort of step back in the animation to show that he didn't, and then he gets hit now. This is nice. I like the impact you get. Nice. That works really well. Kind of still like the fact that he's smiling as well for some reason.
He likes it.
Oof. Yeah, I think that works well. I think this is the stronger piece out of the two.
I agree.
The next one I felt was a bit flat in comparison, primarily because it just feels like we're going through the key poses. This pose feels a bit weak, and then we just land. Let me just play it in normal speed. Yeah, it feels a bit slowish and just like we're kind of rotoscoping more than anything.
It doesn't feel that weighty compared to...
Yeah.
There's not enough compression and...
Yeah, so here...
The foot doesn't slip.
And he could have maybe moved in a bit more before pushing off.
And that's once again, if you have a reference next to it of a parkour runner, you will immediately see the difference.
Absolutely.
And I guess having reference is a good thing because it kind of shows that, yes, you've been able to match it or improve upon something, and B, it gives whoever's reviewing your work a bit of a reference as to what you're trying to do, right? What your intentions were. And sometimes, again, I'm using, my knowledge in my head to judge this when in fact it could have been this exactly frame by frame. And that's just how it was in the reference. I do think at times though you do want to push away from the reference. Again, maybe you did rotoscope this or just frame by frame animate it, but I would say we could probably have pulled away a bit more just to add a bit more bounce, add a bit more, as he's going from one wall to the next. there's a bit more weight happening, because it does feel a bit weightless. I mean, there is weight to it. I'm not saying it's 100% weightless. It just feels a bit more swimmy.
But again, as you're saying, if the reference is like that, because we've all seen these parkour guys doing this sort of stuff, you can't decide whether it's...
Yeah. It's just about having something to compare it to. You quite often see the breakdowns from the Pixar or whatever, just the animators playing those scenes themselves, and it's a stylized animation, but you still have that some ground rules of the physics, and you have something to compare.
And I just checked some of these arcs as well, because as this leg comes up, for example, it feels quite linear. So maybe, the leg could have come up like this to bounce off it. If we just track his hips feels nice. And then it kind of comes in here. That feels nice. I do like what you're doing with the hips. Yeah, I like this jump off here. I think that's working well. It just feels like it's that first jump, maybe.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me just keep. Yeah, that jump there, I think that's working really well. When he gets up to here, boom. It's just that initial run up to the wall. Yeah. So overall, it's just adding a bit more weight into it. Again, from my, from what I think. So, and then we got the dog. Story-wise, I like what he's doing. It's just like, forget the ball. Just me and my tail. Kind of like.
I want to see the dog's mouth open as he's actually going for it.
Yeah.
Something where he's like trying to bite it, or because it's like from the neck up, there's nothing. It's just it goes into a spin cycle. You can't really see too much.
Yeah. But this must be quite a tricky thing, because spinning a character around and around rig-wise, they're never happy. So,
it got me when it came up. I just felt happy seeing it.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice little. You don't need any more story for what's going on.
Yeah. But I guess similar to the first character with the tail, it feels a bit stiff. It feels like it could be a lot more fluidity happening on this. More shape happening. We're not feeling it kind of create some nice S shapes in there, some nice contrasty C shapes. But I don't. Yeah. The one that, I thought this one was the weakest of the lot, the dragon, primarily because it just feels again like it's floating, and the environment doesn't move so much. So it feels like we're just hanging.
Yeah, I think the problem is that it looks like the environment is out of the scale and it's just slapped in there to have something in there.
Yeah. I almost want this to be just a
dragon,
more distant mountain in the background.
Yeah.
And then it would feel right that he's floating up in the sky like an eagle, watching its prey. Everything else I'm actually distracted
because the problem is that in this shot you can see that pointy mountain, and when you jump to the next shot, there is the same mountain without the dragon, and that's like a continuity thing that you immediately feel kind of lost what's happening there.
Yeah,
it looks like a small dragon only about a foot off the floor.
Yeah, it could be kind of back here.
Yeah, exactly.
Which maybe if it was there would make sense story-wise, because it would give us a bit of an idea what's happening. But I guess, because it's here and then we're here, but there's no dragon, there's a loss. The scale's not quite right. I don't quite know how big that dragon is, because it feels small.
Because right now when you jump back and forth, it looks like this creature is the same size as the dragon.
Yeah. but animation wise, it just felt like this one was just, I don't know. Maybe it is because of the environment. It just feels like it's not right. It doesn't feel like the wind's going to get in there and he's going to be flapping around so much.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like he's pushing down hard to lift that weight.
And then when he does get up, he doesn't get up very far. So he's just. So I would say this one probably needs the most work out of all of them in terms of being polished. I can see what you're trying to do story-wise, but it doesn't quite feel like it's finished either, because we come to this and then we just end with a bit of a dive.
The second part of it, I'm completely distracted by the chain.
Yeah.
Because the chain bounces so hard when it comes up.
Yeah.
And there's no bounce to the character.
Yeah.
Where it obviously stops and his little legs should pop up. And
yeah. I think that's just a simulation, right? That's
it looks like it.
It's on the chain.
Yeah. But I mean, there's no bounce to the character of where it stops. And
Yeah,
you are right. There is like the chain is reacting to the stopping of the platform and character now. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, before even animation, it's just, again, for me, it's story and selling scale. If this is like a How to Train Your Dragon kind of size thing, and this is a sheep size, well, I'm guessing it's not sheep, it's quite a big horse size thing. I'm just getting a bit lost in that and the environment itself.
Yeah.
But animation-wise, again, this one feels less, not as strong, I would say, if we come back to the first one. Your first one is the strongest piece. You've got a good mix of, cartoony motion happening, some nice slow beats, fast beats, nice attacks. Again, this one threw me off a little because he's reacting before anything's happened, kind of thing. So he kind of knows it's coming. But this one was nice. I kind of like that end attack. This one maybe just towards here, it just felt a bit like it needed to push in a bit more to get a bit more weight happening before he jumped off. And then again on the dog, John, you were saying about the neck up, could have had a bit more tension. I was saying the tail itself could have had a bit more attention. And
I think they're in the right order, though.
Yeah.
If these four pieces are on a reel, they're definitely. It starts off great, and then you can see there's more work needs doing as it goes, which is how it should be.
I guess I'd like it to end on a high, and that dog kind of, for me watching it, the dog makes me happy.
Yeah, as soon as it comes on, you're happy.
And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not so happy anymore because it's not as polished. And again, it just needs a bit more polish here and there. And it would make it a stronger, complete reel. But I guess if I was to end with the happy dog, I can see you'd probably want the dragon to show you can do flying creatures and so on. But because it's not quite there yet, I would say maybe just keep working on this one until it is as polished as the other ones.
Yeah, I think that mainly it's the environment which is just pulling everything off.
Yeah. As you go in here as well, you could just follow that through a bit more as well. It feels like, again, as we're diving, I know we're diving very linearly, but you might want to just keep that motion going to make a nice S-curve. I guess I just draw S-curves over everything. And then as that tail whips out, it could also just kind of whip out of frame if it's here.
But yeah, because of the scale of the environment, it looks like he hits the floor right there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see what you mean as well. That
it's even the camera movement. You can just, if it's a mountain, it won't be moving all through the frame. Because it looks like it's just 2-3 meters.
Yeah. It looks like it's at eye level. If the camera was maybe looking more up, you maybe not see. I think it's also because you can see the floor and.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, But it's interesting, right? Because I guess we haven't spoken about so much because of the animation, because we're kind of pulled off away by all the other
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
So it's distracting for you, essentially. Where I guess if you did just have the dragon in the sky, maybe some mountain as a matte painting in the background, just there, your focus would be on this thing. And then we would get, yes, he's going to pounce for something he's seen over here, and he's surrounded by the mountains and so on. So story-wise, you wouldn't be judging any of that before you even look at the animation. But it's a lot in one reel. So, I mean, I don't know how long it is. Again, if you're doing reels, just put the stuff that you're really happy with in. You don't want to turn up into an interview and they say, what do you like about this reel? And you go, actually, I don't like this piece. It's not finished yet. They'll be like, oh, why did you put it in your work? So, I think just a bit more polished, changing things up around in the story, playing with the weight. It feels like it's a lot of weight stuff for me more than anything. And then, hopefully that will just kind of pick things up a bit. You can see with the tail here as well. Sorry, I keep coming to tails and S. It kind of just stiffens up.
Yeah.
And it's gone stiff. But again, you do want to keep that kind of nice, pull on the S. I think if you look at some Disney animations when they're doing the tails and stuff like that, they just go for some really nice S shapes and some, happening. I don't know if I can pick anything up. Disney tail anime. Let me just
how to train your dragon.
Yeah. Animation. Let's just try and find. Here we go. So can I pull this down? Yeah, stuff like this. I would say you want that whipping motion happening and just carrying these S shapes like here. Going through, it kind of just feels like it stiffens up too much and then it stays stiff. It's not kind of flowing in and out of these shapes, so it kind of just dies. That's what I'm feeling like. The tail just goes too hard and then the motion stops. So keeping that going through the tail for this character, the dog as well, and also the first character with the little goblin guy here, I think would just help. I mean, you've given yourself more work because you've got characters with tails, so that's unfortunate. But
and long hair. That's another one that's basically the same.
Yeah, like here, it just kind of hovers for a while instead of just kind of following around, and you'd get a nice whipping motion happening. But yeah, cool. So overall, bit of tweaking here and there, but it's looking good.